with your energy forecast for Tuesday, April 2nd. So today we have the moon in Capricorn all day. So this is going to lend us a lot more stability. It's going to put us in a situation where we are striving for productivity. We are really working on these new goals, these new ambitions that we have, and we're very, very aware of bossing up, of needing to rise up into a new placement of power, control, authority, especially over our roles and responsibilities. And of course, the Capricorn energy is thinking long term. We are tapping into logical, practical matters on being able to resolve certain issues and circumstances. And basically, this Capricorn energy is very connected to doing the same old, same old. We really do enjoy tradition or the tried, tested, and true ways of doing things. However, there are a lot of different interactions taking place here today with the moon in Capricorn that will have us kind of thinking outside of that box, definitely pushing us into growing, into healing, into improving, into advancing. Now, may I also just say that we just had the last quarter moon pop off in this Capricorn energy late last evening. And so that applied a certain reflection point, processing point, reassessing point on where it is that we could be doing things differently, especially in the long-term perspective, dating back to that new moon in Pisces energy that we are still under the influence of. Also, just a reminder, if you haven't done so already, take a listen to the April energy forecast. Take a listen to Mercury's retrograde forecast. Also, listen to your zodiac forecast. You can access all 12 on my Patreon or download individually from my website. And for those of you that want to sample those particular forecasts, you do have a free preview on Patreon that you're able to listen to before you decide to download. And if you go to my Patreon, in the search bar, you can type in Zodiac Forecast and access March's forecasts. They're now publicly available for everyone to listen to see how your last month has lined up. So with all of that being said, there are 10 different aspects taking place here today. 8 of them are going to involve the moon. We get off to a great start with the moon in Capricorn energy, sextiling Saturn. So Saturn, of course, rules over the Capricorn energy. Saturn, the lord of karma, ruling over roles, responsibilities, systems, structures, long-term foundations, is in this Pisces energy. We are deconstructing the old belief system, the old dream, the old vision, the old narrative, the old karma, and realizing what it is that we need to build in the place of the things that we're no longer in alignment with. Now, lucky for us, this is a positive interaction, so there is a little bit of a reality check, but not a harsh one, because of course this is a sextile. But the reality check comes in the form of realizing where it is that we have to get real and raw and vulnerable with ourselves, with our wants, with our needs, with our desires, with our goals, and understand where it is that we have to boss up to new roles and responsibilities in order to actually achieve said goals, said projects, said intentions. The moon is then going to make a positive interaction with Venus. Venus, of course, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, and money. She's in this Pisces energy, going through the healing transformation needed in our heart space, in our soul, in our spirit, recognizing where we have had a change of heart, and with that, new priorities, new values, new wants, new needs, new desires. Because the moon and Venus are kind of working together here, and the water energy from Pisces and the earth energy from Capricorn work very well in growing, nurturing, nourishing the soul and the spirit, especially in realizing what it is that we want to build, what we want to create, what it is that we want to bring to life. The moon is then going to get into the boxing ring, square off with the North Node in this Aries energy. So this isn't going to feel good. This creates a little bit of conflict, a little bit of tension. This is kind of showing us where it is that although the North Node in Aries energy wants us to be thinking about the future, especially getting on a new path with a new mission, with a new goal, with a new intention and purpose, the moon in Capricorn kind of pumps the brakes. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not thinking about the path, the plan, the strategy on how it is that we're going to move forward. However, we don't want to take action. We don't want to make moves. We have to think things through very carefully, very strategically, because again, that Capricorn energy is very efficient. It's very systematic. So we have to come up with the proper procedure first before we're going to be able to make any moves. And again, we're still in this eclipse gateway. There are no moves that should be made. We are not in a place to start anything new, initiate anything new. And if you try to bring something new to life in this eclipse energy, unfortunately, you're going to have to backpedal once this eclipse energy comes to pass. And there's going to be a lot of rearranging, a lot more work that is very unnecessary. So again, this is a time for us to step back and really do the inner work to kind of build ourselves up, cultivate a fire, a spark, a flame, a new passion, new desire, and really think very carefully about how it is that we plan to proceed in a particular path and direction. The moon is then going to make an interaction with Neptune. Neptune, of course, in its place of power here in this Pisces energy. We get water and earth energy again. So there is some type of growth. The growth that we are making and creating at this point is getting in alignment spiritually with new wants, new needs, new desires, with a new calling, new mission, new purpose. We're kind of being downloaded with new visions, new goals, new dreams. And the moon in Capricorn has the ability to bring logic and practicality into it, realistically, how it is that we plan on bringing some of these dreams, these goals, these visions to life. The moon is then going to trine, beautiful interaction, with Jupiter, the planet of growth, expansion, beliefs, abundance, and blessings in Taurus energy. So this is Earth on Earth. And what we get from Earth on Earth is a realization on where it is, especially examining and analyzing our physical realms, where it is that we now have a desire to grow, to improve, to push the boundaries of our comfort zone, to understand the new options and opportunities that are now available to us. And of course, Jupiter, he's like the hype girl of the zodiac, which means that we are feeling optimistic, we are feeling confident, we are having a boost to our self-esteem. We actually feel like we're able to achieve whatever it is that we set our minds to. And it is a very uplifting type of energy, but it's not out of control. It's not unrealistic. That Capricorn energy that the moon is in prevents us from dreaming too big of a dream and getting carried away or ahead of ourselves. Just as that beautiful vibration sets in, shortly thereafter, the moon in Capricorn is going to get into the boxing ring, square off, create tension and conflict with Chiron, the wounded healer in this Aries energy. So we know that Chiron in this Aries energy has been helping us with this identity shift, with this rebranding of self, so to speak. The tension, the conflict isn't favorable, especially when the moon in Capricorn is kind of negatively aspect. We tend to slip into a negative narrative. We bring Betty the bully out, Debbie the downer, negative Nancy. We're getting really tough on ourselves. And because Chiron is involved, we are feeling our vulnerabilities, our weaknesses, our uncertainties, our insecurities in ways that, unfortunately, we have to feel in order to build ourselves up in a much better way. Again, sometimes we kind of have to break it down, really sit in that woe is me victimhood mentality before we kind of bang our head against a wall, give our head a shake, and see where it is that we're creating issues and problems where technically there doesn't need to be any. It's just because we are hesitant and semi-resisting bossing up to a new level of control, of power, of authority in our lives to anchor this new version of self in. Now, we're going to sit in that for a couple of hours. And this is going to take place from, let's say, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to approximately 1:30 p.m. That's going to be a tough time for us. So don't let your mental plane get the best of you. Yes, we do have to dip in the energies. Yes, we do have to kind of beat ourselves up and pick ourselves apart in order for us to build ourselves up in a better way. Now at 1:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the moon in this Capricorn energy going to trine, beautiful interaction, with Uranus, the Great Awakener, in Taurus energy. So again, Earth on Earth energies. We're coming back down to Earth. We are becoming more logical, more practical. And what I love about this is that Uranus has the ability to shift our mood and attitude and perspective into a better mind state. And we're definitely going to need that after that tough interaction with Chiron. So it's almost like we have an aha moment, we have an epiphany, we give our head a shake, we understand where it is that we're creating more, I'm going to say, insecurities, uncertainties, and anxieties than actually need to be taking place. And so this is going to provide us with a little bit of clarity, a little bit of an aha moment, definitely opening up our mind space to where it is that we're creating problems for ourselves that don't need to be there, when realistically what we're doing is just trying to procrastinate on making the changes to our physical realms that we need to make in order to rearrange and restructure our physical realm to not only look good, but to feel good. Because again, we're trying to align with a new mission, a new quest, a new truth, a new purpose. So we sit in that energy for a couple of hours, and around 5 p.m., again, Eastern Standard Time, we're going to have Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, ruler of information, communication, how it is that we express ourselves, now retrograde. So again, intellect kind of taking a backseat to our intuition here, in Aries energy. Again, I'm going to recommend that you take a listen to that astro forecast, that you bust out your Aries season e-guide, that you flip to this particular time shift and really capture what is going on for you, what you're focused on, the inner narrative, the ideas that you're having, the conversations that are popping up. This is something that we're going to have to kind of revamp, rewire, rewrite while Mercury is retrograde, and we will be revisiting these topics and themes later in the month. Anywho, Mercury is going to be interacting with Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, and money, in this Pisces energy. And so what we get here is that Mercury is our head space, Venus is our heart space. There is this element where we're trying to be happy-go-lucky, we're trying to be playful, we're trying to tap into a logical, practical mindset, but there's a little bit of friction here, and we don't know where the friction's coming from, except the fact that Mercury is now retrograde and we're not thinking as clearly as we would like, and we're not as sure as we would prefer to feel. What we're going to get out of this particular interaction is that our heart and our head are trying to get on the same page, but right now they're not. And what we could find ourselves doing is kind of speaking on things or saying things or expressing things that we don't actually mean. And this could be a long-term problem because, again, when Mercury's retrograde, we tend to create messes for ourselves, a little bit of drama, if you will, that when Mercury goes direct, we're going to come back. We're going to have to clean this mess up before we can actually move forward. So we want to be very careful that the words that we're actually allowing to leave our mouth are real and true and raw and authentic to our heart space. Because if you're out there just verbal vomiting and talking smack and just, blowing smoke up other people's asses, you are going to create a shit show where you are not being honest, you are not being truthful, and therefore the intentions that the other people are now going to take or make in response to the things that they've just been told from an inauthentic place from you, this is going to start the spiral. Okay, so let's not lead with a false narrative. Let's not lead ourselves or other people on. Let's be real about what it is that we actually are thinking, actually feeling. The moon is then going to semi-square, creating a little bit of tension and conflict with Mars, the god of war, ruling over our physical energy, our drive, our passion, our desires, even our anger. Mars is in this Pisces energy to get emotionally, intuitively, spiritually aligned with a new mission, with a new purpose, with a new quest, with a new truth, if you will. But Mars does not enjoy being here in this Pisces energy because we're getting nothing done. He wants to take action out in the external realm, and there has been no moves, no actions being made for a very long time, especially as Mars has been transiting through the last sectors of the zodiac wheel. This is about the inner realm building, the inner realm cultivation of new ideas, new inspirations, new motivations, new passions, new desires. So because this is a semi-square, and there is a little bit of tension and conflict, we're not feeling so hot. We are probably going to be restless. We're going to be agitated. We're going to be a little bit bored. There's ants in our pants. We're just feeling a little bit, I'm going to say, stunted, paused, if you will. And emotionally speaking, the moon being in this Capricorn energy, if we're not being aspected in a good way, we take a dive for, I'm going to say, the worst. This is where negative Nancy comes out to play, where Betty the bully comes out to play. Suddenly, we are just angered and frustrated. We are just understanding where it is that we are running out of patience. And for most of us, we didn't even start with a good level of patience. And so this agitation is definitely building. Now, we do have a little bit of a saving grace that takes place later in the day. This is going to be the last aspect of the day. And it's between the sun in Aries energy and Saturn, again, the Lord of Karma, in this Pisces energy. So this is going to highlight, because again, sun shines a very bright light, first of all, on where it is that we got to grow up, where it is that we got to boss up, where it is that we got to build something new, where it is that we got to restructure our inner narrative, our focus, our concentration. And even more than that, like Mr. Saturn brings a heavy weight of responsibility, and the sun being in this Aries energy just wants to kind of, I'm going to say, have fun to a certain extent and initiate something new and jump in to new chapters. Of course, we're not being supported in that. We're in eclipse season. But it just feels like we want to have fun. We're trying to stay positive. We're trying to pluck out the silver linings, but there's like this back burner existential weight and dread. We know that something big is coming. We know that there's a major shift around the corner. We know that we got to boss up, that we got to do things different, that we actually are going to be put in a position here very shortly to take action and make moves. And although you would think that that would make a part of us, especially the board part, very happy to know that there is going to be a forward movement, the weight of the responsibility, the weight of the accountability that is now on our shoulders, recognizing that we literally have the power to create our own reality, sometimes that's a very scary thing. So this is, I'm not going to say that this is a bad interaction. It's actually a positive one, but we're kind of conflicted because there's a part of us that's trying to keep things like light and fluffy and playful, but yet there's this, again, underlying tone where we're either, we're turning a blind eye to our obligations, our commitments, where we're trying to avoid having to boss up and do the hard things that just happen to be the right things. There's just this element where we know that this fun, this attempt to be playful, to keep things high vibe, is very, very short window that we're going to be able to feel good, feel positive, and actually think about the future. Because of course, Mr. Saturn in this Pisces energy is trying to wrap up the past, right? So we have the sun in one direction in this Aries energy, thinking about going, forward, straight forward, not looking back. And Mr. Saturn, of course, trying to unpack all of this pain and trauma and karma from the last 30 years in this Pisces energy. He's very focused on wrapping things up from the past elements so that we can put all of our time, energy, and attention into moving forward. But right now, there's a great divide, there's a great split, and we're definitely feeling the weight of that on our shoulders.